You're listening to Parenting Our Future with certified parent coach Robin McMahon, author of The Yelling Cure and founder of Parenting for Connection. My podcast is all about providing you with the tools and solutions you need in your parenting so you can create the family you always wanted. Hey everybody, it's Robin McMahon here. Welcome to Parenting Our Future. Oh my gosh, I have a really special guest, you guys. Really special. Her name is Marla Sokoloff, and you know her because she's been in like all of our favorite shows. She is known for playing Lucy Hatcher on The Practice, Gia on Full House and Fuller House. She's also been in so many different films like True Crime, Dude, Where's My Car, Sugar and Spice, Love on the Side, just to name a few. Marla, thank you so much for being here and for talking to me.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's been so great. And we have been just talking about motherhood and the journey of motherhood and how tough it can be. And you were really public when you were going through your, when you were building your own family, your own full house. And you wrote about some stuff about struggling with breastfeeding and different things. And you got a lot of criticism from that. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I would say not only in my public life from writing the People blog and putting it out there, I also felt it in my personal life from just a few mom friends that aren't my friends anymore, by the way. There was like two people, specifically who made it very known that they didn't think I was like trying hard enough or, But anyhow, I really felt like out of all of the things that happened in my early, motherhood journey, the breastfeeding was the thing that really shocked me. Because people just made me, or I made myself feel that way. I'm not even going to blame other people. I made myself feel that I wasn't a good mom because I wasn't able to do that. And I tried, believe me, I tried. I would pump forever and I would get like 1 ounce of milk.
Yeah.
And it just was draining. And I kept getting, thrush and infections and all these things kept happening, but I kept pushing because I really just didn't want to feel that failure. I'll never forget, I was at this baby class that I took both of my girls to, and every mom would, feed their baby during class because, the babies get hungry when you're there for an hour. And I would never feed her there. I always would make sure that I fed her right before we got there because I didn't want to take out a bottle. I was so embarrassed. And I was saying to you before, like, I just wish that I could go back and talk to that Marla and say, listen, once your kids are older, this is going to be such a blip in the radar. It's not even that big of a deal and it's okay. And both of my kids, I don't look at them and see formula fed babies. I see really smart, awesome, great kids.
Oh yeah, it's so true. I too struggled. And I think the women, and I'm going to speak for the two of us, just for the two of us. Nobody.
Go for it. Yeah.
I think that like the women that can't breastfeed are the ones that tried the hardest. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, because it really either comes easily to you or it doesn't. There's not really like a gray area, I don't think. It was a real struggle. I remember being in the hospital and the nurse coming in and they bring in the lactation consultant and just squeezing my breast into her mouth. And especially with my second, she was in the NICU for the first month. And so I pumped as much as I could. It actually was easier the second time because I think I didn't give myself the stress of even trying to, breastfeed her. I was just straight pump. But I remember just still, reeling from giving birth and then instantly this woman getting so frustrated with me.
That was my experience too. And I never realized that I would have to reconcile the birth process too. And I don't think that we can, overstate that is a traumatic experience for a lot of women. Sometimes it doesn't go the way you want it to. There's emergencies, there's different things like that. Right now with COVID, I mean, you can't even have your support system sometimes even in the room with you.
That breaks my heart when I hear about that. Women have to choose between having their husband there or their midwife. That doesn't really seem fair. So yeah, my heart totally goes out to anybody who's delivering a baby right now.
Yeah. Well, and then you add to that, the shame and I mean, it's like your body isn't even yours anymore, right? Every people are ripping off your
Mm.
top and, like you said, grabbing your breast and shoving it into your baby's mouth. I mean, I did too, and I'm such a private person. I never like to be like that, and it's very primal.
Yeah.
That's what I found, very primal.
Yeah. It's like the most vulnerable state you're ever going to be in.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I mean, gosh, I've been with my husband for 17 years and I didn't even want him seeing me like that, Like, I was like,
Me
you're up
too.
here, do not go down there. And then I remember also, you're in those mesh panties after and everything's different. And I was so just disgusted by
I
myself.
know. I felt too. And I had, those squirt, oh, I don't know if they gave you squirt bottles, but I had like a
Oh,
warm
yeah.
squirt,
Oh, the best.
a bottle full of warm water, soapy water to
Yeah.
help you when you're in the bathroom. And he didn't know that I had a squirt bottle. So he thought those sounds are coming from me.
Oh, no.
Oh, but I also
Oh,
remember
dear.
having my first shower and bawling because I couldn't pull my own underwear up because I had had a C-section and I had to call him in to this like awful hospital shower room and say, "Can you pull up my pants, please?" Like,
God bless them. Bless
oh,
their little hearts that they
I
stick around for
know,
that.
I
What about the
know.
numbing spray? I remember like being kind of horrified when they sent me home with the numbing spray, but then when I had my second one, I was like, Alec, take another one from the counter. We need that stuff because I knew how amazing it was.
That's right. You want to give every woman who you see who's pregnant, like, here, you need this, you need this, you need this. Forget about all the rest. Don't do a
Yeah,
C.
don't bring a robe and pajamas. Like, leave those at home. You don't want those stepping foot in the hospital. Like,
That's
I just
right.
remember the first time I was like so bougie about it with like slippers and like, I thought it was going to be so glamorous, and none of that even came out of the suitcase.
No. You need grandma panties and you need big pads, and
Yes,
that is all. That's what you need.
it is darkness.
Yeah, and darkness, yes.
It is
All those
such darkness.
pictures
Yeah.
of people with their babies right after they're born, they're doing hair and makeup beforehand.
I know. And you know what? That really pisses me off because I didn't even think about the hair and makeup part of it. So in every photo, it's not Instagram worthy. Like you can't. I wouldn't even send it to like a family member. I look like a hot mess.
Yeah. Is that interesting that you say that though, like Instagram worthy, and that's part of, but I get it. I totally get it because I did a little makeup too, right? Just because
Right.
I whatever, call it what you will. But yeah, but that's also what's so real too. Like this is what it looks like. It's not pretty,
Mm-hmm.
but this is
Yeah.
how we do this thing called,
Yep.
motherhood, right? And so I don't know about you, but I definitely felt shame right away, criticism right away, self-doubt. I felt like I was a disappointment to my own self. And that was not a great way to start my journey as a mom.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really tough. I mean, even I felt like my mom and my mother-in-law were even judging me, and I don't think they were, but in my head, anything that I touched or did or said, I felt like they were just like eye roll.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's like when you need the most support of all.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
and you had something really awful happen to your husband and you had your two girls, so sort of transitioning away from that stuff. But your hubby got really, really sick when you were on vacation and almost died.
Yeah, no, it was really horrible. We were in Mexico for Christmas. We always go somewhere fun for Christmas because we love the holidays. It's my birthday around that time, so we always take these like really fun trips. Not this year, obviously. Um, and yeah, we were sitting at dinner one night. He was like, "Gosh, my arm, it feels so tight. It's so crazy. I don't know what's going on." And I'm like, "Your arm is also purple. Like from his shoulder to his fingertips, it was purple. It had doubled in size by the next morning." And that was the day we were actually leaving. And I sent a picture of his arm to my dad, who's a doctor, and he said, "Do not get on that airplane. Like something really bad could happen. It's a circulation, something inside is not right." And we did get on the airplane because we are rebellious. And I was just like standing in the airport with my two young children, and I'm thinking, we got to get home. Like, let's just beast this 2-hour flight and get you right to the hospital. And luckily we did because he had a blood clot in his chest.
Oh,
Um, So he had to have an emergency surgery, and they took like a vein from his groin and took out the bad vein in his chest and replaced it with that. Um, and then I think he had another. So yeah, he had two surgeries from that one, and then he was in intensive care. It was just this long, really scary process. But he, knock on wood, is doing great. He's good.
Oh my gosh, I can't. I mean, that must have been terrifying to almost lose your husband, but then to also think, well, like, am I going to be a single mom after this? And what do you do then? I mean, that I
I
can't
think
even.
it's one of those things. I don't know if you have any of these situations where you look back on it later and think that was actually really scary, but I don't think I really kind of came to grips with how scary it was in the moment, you know?
Okay, gotcha.
Um, Obviously, I was terrified and it was really horrible, but I look back on it now and it's worse.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, it's like you're resilient in the moment, but afterwards, not so much, right? And you can
Yeah.
relive
But
it.
it was
It's
also
almost
one of those things that like you really realize like you have this great village. Like I would be at the hospital. Well, I would spend half the day at the hospital, half the day with the kids, just so I wasn't completely gone all the time. But I would come home and there would be like an apple pie on my doorstep for my friend Jen, or like a bottle of tequila from another friend. Like people that were sending food to us and coming. He got a ton of visitors, which was really nice. Like every person he's ever met went and visited him. So I think it's also like the silver lining where you really realize like you have some pretty awesome people in your life.
yeah. Oh, that is a beautiful. It's a beautiful sort of side effect of that, right? It's
Mhm.
so lovely, and we should do that for each other all the time, don't you think too? Like just
Totally. Well, I feel like I've been feeling like that with COVID too. Like that's just I'm trying to find like the silver lining because there's been so many hard moments. I don't know about you, but having,
yeah.
a kindergartner on Zoom is like actual hell. I can't think of
Oh,
anything worse. But
no
I
kidding.
have thought about just how nice it's been. We've spent so much time together because like my job has me traveling all the time. And my husband, he works all the time. He gets home well after the girls have eaten dinner, but now he's home. His studio's here now. I have not stepped foot on a set or an airplane, so I'm home. And there have been days where I really hate that and I really want it to not be this way. But then there are other days where I'm like, what are we going to do when we're not all together anymore in this house? We're going to be so depressed. So I feel like I am able to really enjoy every single moment, not every single, most moments and most days because I know it's, this is going to end. We're not doing this forever, although it feels like we are. Is
Yeah,
Vancouver open, by the way? Are you guys like kind of back to normal out there?
we're definitely not back to normal, but we're doing okay. We're doing okay. Our cases are rising, and the scary part is that it was sort of wasn't really in my community, and now it is, and so that's scary.
Yeah.
Like we've got notification of cases at the schools, and so schools are open here.
Okay.
Um,
That's good.
and but they've done a really good job of they've done this thing where they've put kids in cohorts, so you only have to be with these certain kids and nobody else. And so I think for the most part it's been good. It's been good to get my kids out and with friends again, and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
right? But yeah,
Yeah.
it's I mean, we've been home too. My husband really, he travels for work and works from an office, and he's been here the entire time, and it's been kind of great. Like, we love it.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. I feel safe when everybody's at home with me, and my
Oh
mom
my
also.
gosh, so do I. My daughter, I was telling you, we, had Halloween with friends and everybody got tested. And she wound up sleeping there because they were already having like two of the girls sleep over. Robin, I didn't sleep all night on Saturday night. I said to my husband, I'm like, I don't like that my children aren't both home. It's
Yeah.
freaking me out. And there's nothing, I trust the family, they're my good friends, but I just didn't like that she wasn't here. And I realized that I am safe and calm when I feel like everyone's safe and calm. Like, I mean, it's
Yes.
clearly I have control issues, but I just really, I feel, I feel so much more okay when I have like my eyeballs on my family.
Yeah, no, I am with you. It's my happy place. It's been my happy place. Just knowing that I could get up and, grab a hug down the hall from someone walking by
Yeah.
or whatever, even, because the house used to be just completely empty and I was the only one here
Yeah.
working. So,
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
Have you been alone yet with nobody there?
Um, yeah, once or twice, but not for very long.
Because it happened to me for the first time. I don't even remember where they all were. It was the other day. Oh, I think Alec had to go to pick something up, and the girls were at their like little sports outside class, and I couldn't believe how quiet it was. I really did enjoy it. I sat down at the dining room table and I had a cup of coffee and like a
Oh,
scone or something. Like I really lived it up. Like
oh,
it's so nice.
oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. I know any chance that I can get just, a quiet moment like that, I really do soak that all in. It's good. It does get
Hmm.
easier as your kids get older. I will say that.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
That's what you hear. Trust me. I can tell you that for
It's a
sure.
habit.
So you've got your two girls, you've got Elliot and you've got Olive. And so what are your kids like? Have you got like, I always say you get one of each. I always say you get one easy one and one not so easy. So what is
It's
it like
so
for
true.
you?
It's really true. I mean, Olive is my forever baby because and my mom is always like, you have to stop babying her, but I literally can't because she's just so cute and she still sucks her thumb and all of these things that probably would have bothered me with my older daughter. I like pulled the pacifier and all of those like baby things I didn't like about her. But with Olive, I'm like, please suck your thumb until you're 40 because it's so cute and I never want it to end. But yeah, she's like the more reserved. She's very shy. I literally had to carry her every single place we went until she was like 4, until I couldn't, my arms hurt. I'm like, I gotta put you down. But my friend Chantel has this joke that like Olive is sewn onto my hip because she's like, I never see you without holding her. Like, put her down. Um, but yeah, she's definitely, you know, I don't know. I just, in my mind, I never thought that I would have like a baby that was like so into me still, like she's a baby,
Mm.
she's 5. And then Elliot came out thinking we were like colleagues, she was like an adult from the second she was born.
So
She was that kid who was like talking in sentences really early. Not that I'm like, oh, my child's so smart, but like she just was very verbal, very talkative. She's just really wise beyond her years,
yeah.
and I don't know if I love the word precocious, but I do like, I know what it means and how it pertains to her, but something about that word sounds obnoxious to me. But yeah, she's just really interesting. She's a really interesting kid.
Yeah. So she does kind of hold her own though, right? Like you say, she came out like a colleague, which means so she's gonna push a little harder to run her own agenda. Is that what?
Certainly the most challenging. Yeah, in ways that like I honestly, I am not, I will fully admit this. I am not a patient person before kids. Patience is not
Yeah.
something that I excel at. And then you throw kids in the mix, and we all know that's like testing your patience. It's really hard. Um, and I have, learned lots of little tricks in order to not just butt heads all of the
Yeah.
time, because she loves a challenge.
Yeah.
Um, and she's also one of those kids who does not care if she's in trouble, which I think is like
Well,
a
that's
really, that's really tough because you can't really put any sort of, punishment or guidelines on them when they don't care.
yeah, yeah, totally. Like, huh, oh yeah, you would. Well, you said earlier to me when we were talking that like you're like, well, I'm going to take that toy away from you, and she's like, you forgot that toy. Don't forget to
Uh-huh.
bring that
Yeah,
toy,
I'd
mom.
be walking out of her room and I mean, I think one night I feel like I cleaned out her whole room. There was no toys left. I was like just so frustrated. I'm like, and I'm going to take this one too then. And she's like, oh, mom, you forgot that one over there. And I'll never forget that moment. I was like, oh, this one's she's gonna,
Yes.
she's going to be tough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my oldest son is like that. And so the way I look at kids like that from, my perspective, is to look at them as like they're hustling for their position. But here's the thing is and so this was taught to me early on when I was sort of trying to understand my parenting and different things when I was starting this journey into doing the work that I do. So we saw a psychologist locally here. Her name's Dr. Vanessa Lapointe, and she's been on my podcast a couple of times. And so there's this concept called the alpha child, and being the in charge parent. So it sounds like Elliot is an alpha child, like alpha dog, right?
Mm-hmm,
And so
mm-hmm,
one of the
mm-hmm.
things that our kids need is they need to be able to look at us as parents really as being their best bet and being the ones that they look to. But here's the thing: in families, in church and government, school, wherever we go, we have hierarchies, and and we have a family hierarchy as well, and it's not, and our kids are at the bottom, but it's not to say they're less than, it's more
Right.
just that they're less experienced. And so we're at the top, so we've got this hierarchy here, we're at the top and our kids are at the bottom. And if she is 2 steps ahead of everything that you do, there is this way to like overtake them for position and make everything your idea.
Hmm.
So okay,
Okay.
so here's how you would do it. So let's say she says to you, well, I don't want to talk to you anymore. You would say, now's not the time to talk. Make it your idea.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, mom, get out of my room. Actually, now is not the time to talk, and I'm going to leave your room now. So
Don't want
you
to
never,
stay in here.
yeah, right. Yeah. So then, but then the other thing is that like, and I wonder if she demands a lot of things. Is she pretty demanding?
Not really, actually. No, she is super self-sufficient.
Oh,
Yeah, I wouldn't describe her as demanding, actually.
does she say no a lot when you try to ask
She
her to
has
pause?
my husband and I make fun of her because she doesn't say no. She says 1 sec. Everything is 1 sec. Like, hey, will you do X, Y, and Z like your chores? 1 sec, 1 sec, and 1 sec is she says it like 1,000 times. Some days
And
I'm like, you say 1 sec one more time.
yeah, no kidding. Oh, that's really interesting. So does she do
Yeah,
it
she's
after?
kind of like, well, yeah, because then I'm like screaming at that point, like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
better do it, or
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
takes me to that place eventually.
So I wonder, is she in the middle of doing something when she says 1 sec?
Probably, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She'll be, but it could be something as simple as like, okay, let's go brush our teeth, get ready for school. Okay, 1 sec. I don't know if it's such. Maybe she wants it to be on her terms,
Maybe,
or
yeah.
she doesn't like being told what to do. I don't really know, but 1 sec is literally her mantra.
But if you have to hear it one more time, I'll give you 1 sec. Right?
Correct. Correct.
Well, okay. So can I give you a couple of like thoughts to
Please.
okay.
Yes.
So first okay. The first thing that like, and I did it often, and I'll still do this now, and I'll make a mistake now, but I know that my kids won't listen to me if I do this, so I'm already like realistic about the fact that they won't listen if I do this. But most of the time we're calling at our kids from another part in the house. We're not even close to them, right? Like, I'm in the kitchen and my kids are in another room, and I'm like, hey, it's time, let's go, come on, get your shoes
Yeah.
on, let's go. Right? It's always get your shoes on.
Yeah.
Always, why didn't you bring
What
down
is with the
socks?
shoes? Why won't they just put them on so we can go? I don't get it.
I don't know. I don't know why. But you know what I do now? Because they never come down with socks, I just have a bin of socks. I don't even bother
Smart.
putting them upstairs. I just have them downstairs
That's
because,
really smart.
yeah, I just don't want to fight about that, right? And
Yeah.
that's me
Yeah.
being in charge parent saying, I knew you would forget, so here are your socks. I already have them for you. Right? And so I'm like, and this is what, Dr. Vanessa is all about.
You're
She's
like,
all
see,
about
I know everything.
exactly. And that's like, look at how you are. That's like having that swagger. Like, yeah, I knew. I already knew you were going to say that. I already knew you would want to
Right.
say, right? So, but if you can connect with your kids first, like go to Elliot and give her a little lovey or something to connect with her. And then when you have her attention, then you say, okay, love, it's time to go get your shoes on. Let's go. We're going to head out. And then take her with you. I wonder if, because you've given her kind of that transition period to go from whatever it is that she's doing, and like, our kids are so in their own heads, they like, it sounds like the Peanuts parents, the wah that I'm sure
Hmm.
that's what it sounds like to them too. And
Yeah.
so if we are able to cut through the noise that's in their head for whatever they're playing with or doing or whatever, and then actually connect with them and then take them and give them any help they need. So the perfect thing for you to do, and even for Olive, even for Elliot, either one, and say, hey, you know what? I've got your shoes ready for you. Here, let's put them on. Do you want me to help you tie them? Do you want me to help you zip up your jacket? And that's not babying them. That's just you just being kind and cooperating with
Right.
them too.
Right. I think that's a fine line too of like doing it for them and babying them and then kind of being just a kind, nice parent and teaching them to
Yes.
be self-sufficient. There's a lot going on there.
You're right. And so here's the trick to knowing the difference, because I think you're totally right. So you look at Olive, right? Olive is 5, And you're probably starting to think, okay, she's got to start to get this stuff herself. She's got to learn how to do her own jacket. She's got to learn how to do her own shoes, because I don't want her being in kindergarten or grade one, right? She's in kindergarten now. I don't want her being old,
Yeah.
like the only kid that can't do her shoes up or whatever, right? So then we stress about it. But actually, developmentally, it's completely appropriate for you to still be helping her with her shoes.
Oh, okay.
And some days she's going to be able to do her shoes well. And some days she's going to need help, because that's part of the learning. So like the bar, if you will, if you have the bar that's too high for her, she's always going to be jumping to meet it. But if it's low enough, then she's going to feel like a big girl when she does it herself. And when she says, no, mommy, I want to do it, you'll say, yes, you do it. Right. And so this is the whole thing too with the alpha child, is bringing your kids close to you so that they depend on you and need you, so that they relax into their own development. And I don't mean we're holding them back in any way at all, but we're acknowledging that it's okay to help them out. And as soon as they say, no, I want to do it myself, we say yes. Right. But there's no criticism, there's no shame when they struggle with their shoes, when they struggle with their jackets, right? Because it's those small moments that if we can show up being in charge, being ready to support them in any way that they need, when they get older and the stakes are higher, then they're going to trust us for the bigger moments too.
Right,
You know?
which is totally what we want.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so funny. I feel like everything you say I can relate to, because my youngest Aiden, who's 12, we've been calling him baby Aiden since the beginning. So he's 12 and he's as tall as me. So I completely understand how you want to keep them small, but you know what? You'll see how excited they are when they do their own things, and you just say, yeah, like, you did it. Way to go. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
It really does. This little one breaks my heart. I mean, I feel like it's really hard for me to accept that she's not going to stay little. That really makes me sad. Not sad enough to have a third child, because that child will also grow up. So it seems like you're just kind of
Yeah.
prolonging the inevitable. But yeah, that the kids, I mean, when people tell you your kids grow fast, when they're babies, you don't really believe it. And it's actually kind of annoying, because you're like, well, when is that going to happen? And then when it happens, you're like, oh no, did I enjoy all of those like baby times, or did I just like complain the whole time?
Right? Yeah. I mean, that's so true too. I think that there is a point where we get really scared about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm for sure. I'm feeling that. And, because of COVID, they're going to let kindergartners come back next week. So on Monday, Olive is going to go to actual real school. And it's funny when you're talking about the shoes, I'm really worried about her like going to the bathroom by herself if she has to go to the bathroom there. So I'm trying this week and last week, trying to just not help her as much, because that's, something that she's not going to have me there for. And with COVID, there's one teacher per the cohorts and all of that. So she won't have the hands-on that she would have had if she would have just been in normal school. So
Yeah.
it's a little anxiety producing.
Yeah. At the same time, it's so interesting when they're given a challenge, how they can rise to that challenge too, and
True.
actually,
Yes.
Kind of be more self-sufficient when they need to, and that's
Yeah.
okay too. That's, it's often that sort of, frustration with parents, like, how come they're so good at school and at home they're not as good, right? And it's really because they're doing all they can at school to be like the other kids, to to rise to the level that's expected of them. And that can be good,
Yeah.
and it can be a real challenge for some kids too, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm hopeful that she will be okay, and that you've done the best you can. And
Yeah, I mean, she's actually really excited, which makes me so happy, because pre-COVID, let's see, we were done in March. She cried every morning I dropped her off at preschool. I mean, she just never got the hang of me leaving her. So when I heard they were going back, I thought, oh no, how is this going to work? Because parents can't walk on campus even. So she won't even be able to be ripped off of me.
Oh,
But
wow.
every day she talks about how excited she is. And I really feel like this quarantine experience has been like a growth for her, because she only hangs out with a big kid now. She's never around like a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old anymore. It's just her 8.5-year-old sister. So she's really matured, which has been interesting.
Well, that's awesome. That's so great. It's really great. And yeah, this will definitely be a huge learning curve for her too. And if she is a little sad and a little, worried about going when push comes to shove, when she's
Yeah.
actually just acknowledge her feelings. Just say, yeah, I know it can be hard. There's this formula for validating feelings, which so there's been some studies and research about how to like what are the things that matter the most and what are the things that really help. And so just saying to your child, oh, it's going to be okay, it's going to be fine, you're going to be fine. But so that doesn't work. But to Olive, I know you're worried and I know that you don't want to be away from mommy because you're at school all day. Because so you validate the emotion, you use because as your bridge, and then give 2 to 3 reasons why. That will calm her down. That will calm her down.
Okay.
And also she feels like
Okay.
you get her, right? Because it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
right, exactly.
right? And that is massive. That's massive. And that's what builds those deep bonds and really strong connections with your kids, which is exactly what I know you're all about too, right? And
Yeah,
that
for
is
sure.
so important. Yeah, yeah, it's really great. So, I mean, thank you for being honest about that stuff too. I think
Oh,
that's
yeah.
one thing I really like about you is you're honest. Like this is hard, and nobody tells us how to do
Yeah.
it. Right?
Yeah, I think it's, I'm sorry, my dog is barking. Is that going to be a
Oh,
problem?
no, I can't hear him.
You can't hear. Okay. We do this little ballet class in the backyard at 3 o'clock. So I think everyone just got here. What was I just going to say? Yeah, I mean, I think there's no reason to not be honest about all of this stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think a lot of maybe public people are because they want to have this like veil of being a perfect parent, but there is not. It's funny. I mean, my therapist said it to me the other day when I was upset about something that happened, and I said, I just feel grumpy. I feel like a grumpy mom today, and I don't want to be grumpy, but she's like, you're going through X, Y, and Z. It's like quarantine, and there isn't a mom on this planet that hasn't been grumpy. So if they tell you they haven't been, they're lying. And she's a mom, and it really made me feel so much better. She's like,
Yeah.
you just, that's how it is. Like, this is a weird time in everybody's lives. You're not supposed to be with your family 24/7. Your kids are supposed to be in school. I mean, even my mom, who she never had any help. She was just her and my dad, and like she didn't work. And so sometimes I think she gets a little, well, why do you have a nanny? And I'm like, because I travel for work. Who's supposed to stay with my kids when my husband's working? But
Mhm.
even her the other day, she gave it up and she said, wow, I mean, I at least had the day you guys were in school. Like, so I was able to do certain things. And I just can't imagine what it's like for you to not be able to do all of the things that you used to be able to do or put any time into yourself, really. It's a real shift.
Yeah. Well, and even when you do want to do something for yourself, that might not even be open. It might not even be accessible, right?
Exactly. You can't go and get a facial. You can't go to get a massage or something, self-care. I mean, honestly, self-care for me is like sitting in my room and staring at the wall at this point. I'm like, I will happily just, I don't need entertainment. I don't need a spa setting, like nothing.
Just some peace and quiet and a break, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well,
Like, let
but I
me
think,
stare at my phone for 5 seconds and don't ask me for anything, please.
right. I know that's what happens to me at the end of the night too. I'm just like, nobody talk to me. Nobody say anything. I'm just going to sit here and be quiet because I talked all day
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Do not make eye contact either. Forget about it.
exactly. Yeah. But what you're saying, I think, is really relevant, right? Because we are all feeling it. This is something that we kind of just can't even put our heads around. Like it's just so bizarre. And then you add to that the anxiety that we're all feeling, and that is hard. And anxiety itself is this like outdated programming that we have to keep us alive, to keep us in
Mm,
survival. and
hmm
um, and the thing is it's outdated because there really isn't threats out there, but there actually is a threat right now to our survival, to our health, and that does create that anxiety. And so it's no wonder people are worried.
And speaking of like the anxiety in kids, like what is a great way to kind of calm their, I mean, every single day, Olive asks me, when's Corona over? Or
Mm,
she'll say, when COVID's done, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Like, what's a good thing for me to say to her? Because I always say, I honestly don't know. And I would love to go to Disneyland too. But I mean, in my head, I'm like, we're never going back there.
No, it doesn't
Forget
feel
it.
like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's a really good question because kids are feeling it too. And I think there's a couple things that we need to keep in mind. One is how anxious are you, right? Like if
Yep.
you're anxious, unfortunately, our stress is 100% contagious. So if we're stressed, our kids will be stressed. So we have to, and I hate saying this because for all the moms that are listening, when I was struggling and I would hear like, well, you've just got to model better behavior. And I would cry because I'm like, I don't know what that better behavior is. So I
Right.
cringe when I say that, because it's like, oh, well, okay, so easy to say, but like modeling better behavior or modeling sort of, not better behavior is not what I mean. But, but being that in charge parent and saying, yeah, I know it's scary. I can get worried too. And here are the things that we're doing to protect ourselves, right? Like, we're washing hands, we're wearing masks, we're sanitizing stuff. We're not going to places with more people. I mean, like you just had that Halloween party, everybody got tested so that they could hang out together. I mean, that's brilliant. I mean, we're doing
Yeah.
everything we can to stay safe. And I think that's the most important thing, right? Is telling them that they have control over being safe, right? By washing their hands, by wearing the mask, by staying apart from other people, that sort of thing, and explaining the virus, travels from, your nose, your mouth, and that's why we wear masks and and all that sort of thing. And then validating her feelings too, and asking her like, well, what does she know? Because kids talk and they learn things at school,
Yeah. That's
right?
true.
Also having like the news on all the time is not a good thing for
I
anybody.
never turn. I don't want to watch it. I don't want.
No,
They
it's not
never see the news. Tomorrow they might see the news because I think I need
right.
to have my television on. I know that does. You're so lucky to live where you live tomorrow because I'm staying in this house. I will not be leaving until I don't
Right.
know. Never.
So we're filming this, recording this on November the 2nd. So tomorrow is the
Right. You
big
should
day.
definitely point that out. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. No. And one of the things that I've talked about, I had an episode where I talked about how to talk to your kids about politics, all that sort of thing. I mean, I think you just have to be aware and prepared as well too, right? And explain to your kids, I really believe that age appropriately and simplified, we can talk to our kids about just about anything. We can say, look, you know what, there are some people that are upset and some people that are scared. And when people are scared, they don't make the best decisions,
Right.
yeah. So there's lots of big issues here. And I always believe that asking how you're feeling, validating those emotions is really big, because what you're
Mhm.
doing too, when you ask her how she's feeling and you validate it, you're listening to her, you're listening to her thoughts, to her, sometimes even her opinions, and listening to her words that she uses too. And really, when you can really listen to your child, that feels like love. That feels like belonging.
Mm.
That feels like worthiness. Like I am important to my mom, so much so that she listens to me and really cares about me.
Right.
And when
Yeah.
there's a problem, I know I can go to her. And that is really what's important. And so I had this really beautiful conversation with this oh, let me think of his name. I have to, oh my gosh. Oh crap, what's his name? It's on the tip of my, okay. I had this really great conversation with Matt Larson, who is the founder of the Human Improvement Project, and he has these two apps called The Happiest Child and In Love While Parenting. And what he says is one of the most important things is to have an emotional safe haven to provide that for your kids, which means that you validate their emotions, and the same thing, that they can come to you at any time, even if they've done something bad or wrong or they're in trouble, and you are just
Right.
there to help them work it out and say like, hey, mistakes are a part of life, and I'm here to support you no matter what, even
Right.
if it's something bad and not something that you would like them to do. Those are the things that
Yeah.
really matter. And by the
Absolutely.
way, that increases her long-term well-being and yours as well. And yours as well.
Yeah.
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 So that's really
Yeah. I always try to tell them like honesty, like lead with honesty because you're kind of going to get yourself in trouble twice. You're going to get yourself in trouble for the thing that you did. And now I'm mad. I'm more mad that you lied about it. So just rip the Band-Aid off and tell me, what's going on and what happened and what you did or what you think you did or any of that kind of things. I
Yeah.
just feel like lying is, that's a bad road to go down.
Yeah. Well, and for kids, most of the time, the reason they're lying is self-preservation, which is really why we
Correct.
lie too,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so I usually will just say, well, how come? Like, how come you felt you couldn't tell me the truth? Like, are you like
Hmm.
maybe there's something I don't realize that I do. Maybe there's something, maybe I have they feel like I'm going to fly off the handle and somehow I haven't communicated with them that I would never do that, especially when it's the big stuff, you know?
Right. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I would say with all of that stuff. And again, like having people like you in this world who are open and honest about what it is to be a mom, the struggles that are out there, and like being willing to talk about it. I just think it creates this shift away from perfectionism, which isn't real anyway, and more to being
Yeah.
real. And it's okay to struggle. After all, nobody tells us how to do this job. I mean, I like to think that I can
Mhm.
help, but at the same time, we well, I said it to you. It's like a setup, right? It's like we're not going to tell you how to do this, and we're going to give you this baby. I don't know the big we, and expect you to do it perfectly. And when you don't, we're going to criticize you and shame you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yep. It's ah, I mean, I feel like I'm just at the beginning too of my parenting, even though I have an 8-year-old who's, she's getting up there, but I still feel like a new mom. I would never not I would never portray my life as to being easy as a mom or that I know what I'm doing. That just would never happen.
Yeah, yeah. None of us know what we're doing. We're just doing the best we can, and really everything that I do, and talk about is from my own, not only just from my own experience, but also based in science and research. It's important that we know the way the brain works. It's important that we know,
Yeah.
where developmental stages are and that sort of thing. Just helps us uncover the truth so that we don't have to be emotional and be mad and angry and that sort of thing. It really helps to just sort of, remove the veil and say, oh, okay, that's it. She's just acting five. That's okay.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and
Thanks
for
for having me. This was so great.
yeah, it's so nice to talk to you. And I just wish you all the best. I hope you can get back to set soon. Do you have something, do you have some
Me
stuff
too.
planned in the near
Yeah, I
future?
was supposed to direct another movie in December, but that just got pushed again. So I'm assuming that will be in the spring now. Actually, two movies. One is going to be in January. That one I'm pretty sure is happening. And then the other one, another Christmas movie for Lifetime, that's going to be probably in the spring. So
Oh, well, that's right, because
hopefully soon.
the last Christmas movie you did last year, you directed as well as
Yes.
as starred
Yeah.
in. So cool.
Hmm.
What's
Yeah.
the
I starred in one and directed another one, which was really just such a great experience to do both.
Oh, I love it. That's so great. The Christmas movie from last year is called
The Road Home to Christmas.
The Road. Okay, so we've all
And
got to look
that's,
for that.
yeah, it was a really good one, actually. I've done a lot of Christmas movies, and that one was by far my favorite that I've been in. It has a lot of really good music in it, Christmas music. Who doesn't love that?
I love it.
Marie Osmond is in it. She's really fun. Everything about that movie I loved. I loved filming it. It was just a great experience.
Oh, well, we'll all look out for that because that we need some good holiday movies. So that's great.
Oh, yeah.
And Marla, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you so much.
Thank you for listening to this edition of my podcast, Parenting Our Future. I'm parent coach Robin McMahon, and if you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with someone who you think might also need to hear this message. And don't forget to subscribe, and if you like my work, I would be grateful if you gave me a 5-star rating. For those of you who like my content and want more, visit me at yellingcurebook.com to get your copy of my book and to find other resources to help you. Until next time, I am wishing you and your family peace and